Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I would like to gift my book, The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance to you at goldenkey.gift, where you can get the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD at checkout. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Jocelyn Jones here with me on the show. Jocelyn is a legendary acting teacher, coach, and artistic advisor to the stars who has served as a confidential creative consultant on some of the highest grossing pictures of all time. And today we're going to discuss and explore the wisdom in her new book, Artist, Awakening the Spirit Within. Hello, Jocelyn. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hello. It's very good to be here, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. And I would like to, as we dive in here, start with my cliche opening question, which is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
I would say helping. My passion is helping. From a very, very young age, I had this inkling that I was here to help in some shape, manner, or form. And then my life became about how is that? How do I help? How do I
Well,
contribute?
I think it's such an interesting path that you've chosen to help on. It's something that's actually very present in my own life. My son is an actor and has just started down the path this year when, I have a lot of like intuitive, people on the show and so forth, as you can imagine. And one of them is a good friend of mine who's a medium here in LA as well, like both of us. And she sort of had this, on his 18th birthday, this sort of wild prediction about his success as an actor. And now he's 23. And this year he really started taking it seriously. At that time, he was just kind of playing with the idea. And he's been really auditioning a lot for like student films and things like that. But he's getting cast. He's had since January, he's been in like 15 productions, and he just won Best Actor in an Independent Film and Los Angeles Film Awards. And it's just like out of the gate, just going. So when I saw, and he's so and he's not doing it for fame or any of that. He's such an artist. And so when I saw you come up as a possibility to have on the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this and share it with Bradley and share your book. And, because it's just so in his lane. So I'm excited to hear what wisdom you have for him and all the other, obviously we all have that artistic creative. As I like to say, since we're one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things, we're all creators deep down, right? That's in everyone. And I think a lot of people tell a story that they don't have creativity. And I think that's, hogwash. So I'm curious to hear what you think about that. And maybe before you do go to, deep down that rabbit hole, maybe you could start by sharing a little bit of your backstory and what, how you got where you're at, and to give us some context, whatever feels relevant to share.
Okay, excellent. Well, the first thing I want to say is that I agree with you. The premise of the book is that there is an artist in everyone. And the proof of that is that your very first masterpiece, your very first work of art is your life, and that is your canvas, that is yours to create. And the book is about helping people to connect, go from their head to their heart and connect to, their higher self, which is there to guide them in their purpose and what they're here to do and what they're here to contribute. Because as I said to you earlier, in the elevator conversation, what is your passion? My passion is to help. I think we're all here to contribute. And when we find that thing that Emerson talks about, the thing that we do better than, you know, that is our thing to do, and that we can do better than anyone else because it's ours, it comes from our heart. When we find that, we kind of settle in. But my story is, it always has to do with contribution. When we find that, it always has to do with contribution. That's part of how you can tell it's alive and real and viable, is that you ask that
Hmm.
question: how does this contribute? It's a pretty good question for all of your choices in life.
Hmm.
How does this contribute? How does this job contribute? How does this action contribute to my health, to my expansion, to my mental health, to my family, to my community? Very good question. How does it contribute, or how can I contribute?
I want
Anyway,
to, if I could throw in there real quick, one of the things that I often say on the show, Gandhi said, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. And I always add to that, I believe that holds true because there are no others. It's in giving that we receive, essentially.
yes, 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 yes. So my beginnings were, I grew up in an artist community up on the Hudson River. And it was populated with pretty extraordinary artists because it's very close to Manhattan. So they wanted that experience of country living, but at the same time, access to the liveliest city in the world. So
Hmm.
at the dinner table growing up were painters. My father was an actor. So there were actors and theater people and painters and dancers and writers and, extraordinary people of that time. And I grew up observing that and listening to these artists, and became very interested in process, which I think is how I ended up teaching. And the thing that got to me was, what made them happy when they were happy. When they were working, they were lit from within, and when they were not working, when the project was over, they really caved and were quite depressed, and it was as if they thought they'd never experience that inspiration again.
Mm.
So those were my very early interests in studying artists. And then I was also kind of a lonely kid. My parents were both artists. Artists are pretty involved in their art. And
Hmm.
my parents were the kind that came from a generation or a community of people who sort of put you on the planet and said, go. There was not a lot of interaction or interest in children as people. There was not a lot of what do you want to do or great job or interest, which I think children need. And so I
Hmm.
felt really lonely and detached. And I took solace in nature. I had such a strong connection with nature because we lived in the woods. I would just go play in the woods all day and
Sure.
down by the river. And I had such a strong communion with nature that I really found spirit in nature. And I had a very ability to hear her. It was
Mm.
particularly trees. There were specific trees in my life that raised me. They were more like my parents than
Wow.
my parents to me. I
Wow.
would go take my problems to them and listen. And I think the first moment that I realized this clearly, I was around 8 years old and I was walking to school. I tell this story in the book, and I was feeling really sorry for myself and thinking, well,
Aw.
I don't understand why they don't see me. I'm here to help. I can't. I have
Aw.
special gifts. I want to offer these things, and I felt I should see the light in their eyes. When they looked at me and thought,
Hmm.
oh, we have this
Aw.
good, great thing. And it came in. I don't hear words, but it came in like a concept, very, very clearly. Like, we're here, and we may have to be enough. And it was very
Wow.
matter of fact, like, get over it. We're right
Yeah.
here. Anything you need,
Wow.
just check in, and we'll help you move along in the right direction. And so I was pretty confident that that I could, that I had that friend. I remember asking kind of, it would be very nice to have someone in the third dimension. And, eventually it's interesting because the things that we want the most, we tend to get in our lives. And much further down the line, I met my husband, who I've been with for 40 years, and that was my person in the third dimension who I give thanks for every day. So
Oh,
I felt very, gifted in these ways and very grateful. Um, I left home at a very early age. You know, was a very bad model. I was discovered by Eileen Ford, who was a big deal modeling agent at the time. And she saw something in me and she would send me out for test shots. This is where photographers get free models to test new equipment and lights and cameras and things, lenses. And, the model gets the pictures. And so I would take these pictures to Eileen, and she looked at these pictures and she said, "Oh no, Jocelyn, no, 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 they're too sad. It looks like they lined your family up against the wall and shot them. Really, darling, nobody says,
wow.
'I want the sad girl. Get me the sad girl. I want to hire the sad girl.'" So she said, "You have to do better." So I was really shy in front of a camera and uh, just not comfortable with that thing peering at me. So I started to create characters just to be in front of the camera. And I took
Ah.
those pictures to her and she said, "Oh, you're an actor." And I went, "Oh no, my father's an actor. One of those in the family is definitely enough." And she just disregarded that and started sending me out on acting jobs. And the first acting job she sent me out on was for Mayor Lindsay, was the mayor at the time in New York, and she sent me out on as to play a heroin addict, a young heroin addict who was coercing her father out of money for a fix, and
Hmm.
it was very dramatic. These commercials actually won awards, so they were like little documentaries, but little films. Um, Anyway, I thought that's perfect for the sad girl. Let her, she can play the heroin addict. So,
Exactly.
that went very well, and so I thought, oh, I should study. So I started studying acting, and I became an actor. And I love acting. I love the process of acting. I understand the process of acting. I teach the process of acting. But I did not enjoy the life of acting. I did not enjoy,
Hmm.
the you have to have tough skin. And
Yeah.
I'm too alpha. I'm very alpha, like I want to run my life the way I want to run it. I don't want to have somebody else in charge of saying, yes, you can do this, or no, you cannot do that. Um, so eventually, I think I always knew that I would teach. It was part of that package of you're here to give, you're here to
Hmm.
help, and then those early years of studying artists and process and source and inspiration. And so even as an acting teacher, I teach technique, but my interest is spirituality. My interest
Hmm.
is art as spirit driven
Hmm.
and spirit informed. And so, many people say great acting is great choices, making great choices. You make great choices out of asking great questions. Um, so it's really a series of questions, and when you ask questions and the first answers that are going to come are intellectual. The answer that you want, you keep asking, what else could it be? What else could it be? What else could it be? And when your
Hmm.
heart begins to beat a little faster, when your stomach turns over a little bit, then you're on to something. That's source. That's, you know,
Hmm.
the same source as synchronicity saying, here you go, here it is. And then when you
Right.
feel that, you go, what's that? What's that all about? And you kind of pull the string on it and see what's at the end of
Hmm.
that, what present you can unwrap at the end of that little journey
Yes.
that you're taking. Um,
Learning to follow those breadcrumbs, right?
exactly. And that's true for the kinds of questions you ask as an actor about a character. And that's true. This is where I thought, oh, I can take these same techniques that I give actors and help any artist apply them to their life because it's a questioning process. Where do I want to live? What do I want to do? I think one of the most valuable questions you can ask yourself, and it's amazing how many people struggle with this question, and that is if you could have anything in the world barring all obstacles, what would that be? People have
Mm,
trouble answering what they
mm,
want in the world. So the first, intention for the book was to help people to still themselves and go from their head to their heart and breathe. When you
mm,
just breathe into your heart, and I'm sure you know this, you just breathe into your heart, you activate a kind of second brain there. It's something
mm,
happens to you when you consciously, this is a breath into my heart, and you feel, the expansion into the present moment, and it has a little ecstasy feel about it. It feels
mm,
quite beautiful and right. And that's really where we should be operating from. We create the path with each step that we take. So if we can take our steps consciously, we can create our life consciously. Um,
mm.
so, the book has a series of exercises that help guide artists to that place where they can begin to create their own life to answer questions like that.
Yeah,
What is it that you want?
I love that. It makes me think of a friend, an artist here at the co-living, slash event space that me and my partner manage in Venice near you.
Hmm.
We have a bunch of incredible, fountains and statue, art that my friend Damian Jones, who's actually been on the show a year plus ago, probably, creates. And one of his things that he says has completely transformed his life, that I believe he talked about on that episode as well, was he has a alarm on his phone. Every hour, he takes 3 deep breaths into
Mm,
his heart, and he's been
wow.
doing that for some time now. And he's like, it just has completely transformed his life by making that you know a part of his every hour, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
such dedication, right? But I'm sure at this point for him, it's just, he's trained himself. So it's just, a natural thing for him to do.
Well, I think what's extraordinary is the simplicity of finding yourself and living uh, a connected life, a life from your heart. The simplicity of take 3 deep breaths once an hour into your heart and just locate that
Hmm.
source within you is extraordinary. That is life changing. That simple, tiny little exercise is life changing. Even if, I love that he does it every hour, but if you do that for 5 minutes every day,
Right.
you have located yourself. So you'll find, later some stresses come up, something, or you want to really be present with someone, you have this exercise that you can do. Many of the exercises in the book are that simple. It's about caring for your own vibration in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Because,
Hmm.
I tell actors, they don't like this very much, but I tell actors who, I think that they're just very high on the food chain of artists. That's why people look up to them so much, because it's as if one life isn't enough. They remind
Hmm.
us that we are creating life. And when they get it
Right.
right and they enter a character and they connect to that, humanity,
Hmm.
and give us that. They loan their breath, their heartbeat, their soul to another's. Um,
Yeah.
they remind us, we look at that and we go, oh, golly, if they can create all of that emotion and inner thought and, a whole other person at will, surely I can do a little better with my own life. And
Yeah.
that's what we want to do, is to help people take the reins of their own life and drive the pony in the direction that they want it to go. We're going here. Where do you
Hmm.
want to live? If you're living in LA and you want to live in New York, the first thing you have to do is recognize that I want to live in New York. And then you
Yeah.
can, once you can set the path to get from here to there. But a lot of it is frequency. When you breathe into your heart, you raise your frequency. When you write down three things, or you contemplate, or you meditate on three things that bring you joy, your vibration level will shoot up, or three things
Mm-hmm.
that you're grateful for. People are talk about gratitude all the time and the power of gratitude. It's immediate. It's immediate.
Yep.
The minute you connect to something you're grateful for, your vibration level shoots up. And
Yeah.
so what I tell actors that they don't really love it is say, you're not your talent. It's not about your talent. An artist's gift is not their talent. An artist's gift is the fact that they vibrate at a higher
Mm-hmm.
frequency than others. They came onto the planet vibrating at a very, very high frequency. That's why they're so sensitive and such. So,
Mm-hmm.
the thing about vibrating a high frequency is you are able to connect to the ethos, to the ether, to what source wants us to connect to move the civilization in the next direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um and to hear that counsel, you have to be vibrating at a pretty high frequency.
Right. You've got to be a match for the message in a certain sense. And I always say we have wildly varying paths, all of us. And um, however, I think it's of paramount importance that we realize that the number one job we all have is managing our vibration, because
Yes.
everything is coming from that. So many people get caught up in, if I do this and I do that and there is no out there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
showing up as a reflection of your vibration.
yeah.
And so, it's a very, I think for people who feel stuck, I believe it's really empowering to say, hold on, I don't see the path to get the things that I want or a better life or whatever. It's going inward and focusing on how do I move from my head to my heart more. And
Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
my first um, ayahuasca plant medicine journey many years ago, and I got into a state of just fearful thinking or what have you. And my friend who's been facilitating for 25, 30 years, actually he's worked with a bunch of really well-known actors in that journey space, as he would put it. And I remember he came over and saw that I was struggling a little bit and said, okay, let's focus for a moment on getting all this mental activity. Let's imagine a string to your heart and moving all of your awareness from this being your center of gravity up here in your head to your heart, and especially being in that state. It was such a profound shift. Like, oh wow, all of a sudden, my the center of my being is here, and I'm able to process all of these emotions and things. And it's like my capacity expanded threefold or
Yes.
fivefold.
Yes.
And it was such a powerful moment for me. And that was the first time I really realized the importance of moving my awareness from my head to my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very important shift also because we get trapped by our head, and it's not like corporate isn't aware of that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so loud right now with social media, and
Yeah.
it's very beneficial to keep people, one, afraid, and two, we want more. One dress
Yep.
isn't enough. I need five dresses. I need 10
Yep. Yep.
dresses. My lips aren't big enough. I need them bigger. Everything. I need more. I need more of everything.
Yeah.
Um, so then I go back to the simplicity of it. The simplicity of it. One of the simple exercises to raise your vibration level is to make a joy list. I have
Mm.
actors, sometimes actors get very blue and they haven't worked, just like the artists at the table. They're not working, they're not engaged with inspiration, which is they feel their natural way when
In
they're working.
spirit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so I will tell them, make a joy list. I had a guy in class who'd been on a huge series. He was very, very successful. The series ended, as all series do. And he had been chasing that role and that success for about
Yeah.
7 years. And he had done, maybe three or four other series, but they had not caught like that one. And
Yeah.
he was unhappy. And, I took a little meeting with him and I said, what's going on? And I discovered that he was separated for 6 years or something, but he was still living in the same house surrounded by her things. And he was, sleeping with everything in a skirt and drinking too much and just not doing the kinds of things he needed to do to, he didn't look well to me. He didn't look hireable to me. It wasn't the same
Hmm.
sexy, confident, charming dude that had been hired
Yeah.
when he was 10 years younger. And
Yeah.
so, I told him, to grow his hair out because all leading men have long hair. Grow your hair. He cut his hair off short. I have no idea why. Grow your hair out. Stop drinking so much. Dial back on the women and booze and bring me a joy list next week. I want 10 things that bring you joy. And the
Mm.
following week he came in, he went, "Oh, Jocelyn, you kicked my ass. I mean, I couldn't come up." Yeah, he said, "I came up with one thing." I go, "Good. What was it?" And he said, "Golf." And I went, "Okay. Did you write up what you like about it?" "Yeah, I did. I like the sunshine. I like nature. I like the grass. I like being outside." I go, "Great. So next week, three more." And he goes, "I don't know how I'm going to do it. I spent all week. I couldn't come up with anything but golf." I said, "Go back to your childhood and think of the things that brought you joy. Like when I was a kid, I loved the garden. It was my happiest place. I'd go in the garden,
Hmm.
I'd play miniature things underneath the long stalks of tulips, and make little villages. Um, and he came back the following week and he had softball on there, and I went, said, "I used to love softball, man." And I said, "Okay, so what could you do to play softball?" "Well, I need a team. I can't play softball." I go, "Well, what about you join a team?" So he joined a team of, celebrity soft people who played, they have those
Hmm.
teams. And he loved it, and his energy came up, and his vibration came up, and he ended up, you know, he went to his spouse who he'd been separated. He said, "In or out?" And she said, "Out." And he said, "Okay, get your stuff out of my house."
Yeah.
And he cleared that up. Within a year, he had met a woman. They married, they had a child, and he got a
Wow.
big series, which he's still on. And this is just from raising your vibration level up to a place that, in this particular instance, people recognize it. So if you've had a series or you've had a success or people have recognized you in that way, and then you don't have the same vibrational level that you did there, the industry's not going to hire you. They're going to sense there's something less than what was there. And that's not because you're older. It's not because of anything but your happiness and your confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So simple exercises, joyless, what brings you joy? Then take those things and put them in your calendar and do them
Hmm.
3 times a week so you have things to look forward to.
Yeah. I love that piece of advice. I think it's something that I've really had to work on hard in my own life as someone who's definitely a doer and fairly driven. And it's occurred to me slowly but surely. I even start to see the light that, hold on, just grinding away trying to accomplish something isn't really it's like working harder, not smarter. And when I take the time to do things like the softball example for him, that bring joy and
Yeah.
raise my vibration, I started paying, I've definitely gotten very tuned in to notice the threads of connectivity and synchronicity and serendipity and things like that on my own sort of spiritual journey, I guess you would say. And it's funny because anytime I'm on the fence of, I shouldn't take the time to go do this thing that's not moving the needle forward in my career or what
Yeah.
have you, I'll be in the middle of it enjoying that thing, and then all of a sudden you get that email you're waiting for
Yes.
or the text
Yes.
message. It's like, hold
Yes.
on, I just moved the needle way more by playing and having fun and becoming, the one Bible verse that I will ever sort of quote is, "Lest you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven." And it's that that playful spirit that
Yeah.
attracts things that are similar vibrationally, right?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Really, really well said. Spirit of play, very, very important. Actors are players, so particularly for them, they have to have this litheness about life and spirit and being another person and taking responsibility for another soul that you are revealing to the world, because writers write very intimately about characters. And so you have to bring that intimacy of the character to life by loaning your own intimacies to the character. So, yeah, spirit of play and joy and that vibration. Now I'm in the vibration that I'm meant to live in, then the synchronicities and help from the universe comes your way. Things begin to flow in the right direction. Once you discover your purpose, and your contribution, and you begin take a step or two in that direction, you recognize it, you're stepping in that direction. The universe acknowledges you with all kinds of synchronicity and help. You get an
Yeah.
email. You go outside, you start seeing feathers on your walk. Birds come to visit you. uh, it's pretty Disney. It's pretty. That's why we relate to Disney, because we go, there's some
Totally.
truth in that. I can talk to those
Yep.
birds. I'm sure I can.
Yep, yep, yep. Absolutely, absolutely. So for the person who's listening who's like, okay, I'm not an actor. I don't, maybe they even have the story of I'm not that creative. I'm not an artist. I haven't found my purpose. They're just on the other end of the spectrum with all of this at this point in their journey. What would you say to them to get them, moving in the right direction?
I would say to accept the fact that there is an artist in you. And two things.
Mm,
One, there is an artist in you, and that artist's first job is to create the life that you came here to live. You came
mm,
here to live a certain life. You have a purpose, unlike anyone else. And your first job is to discover what that is and to honor it. And the first thing I would say is to trust me that this about yourself. And you've told them the same thing. And 40 of your guests have mentioned the same thing. There's a reason why a lot of people are talking about this in various different ways, slightly different ways, all talking about the same thing, which is
yeah.
there is a consciousness rising. So, along with all this dark, loud noise that we're hearing from media, there's a similar balance of rising consciousness, and that's why you're listening to this program right now. That
Right.
that is a synchronicity, that you are in
You're a
exact
vibrational match for it, right?
you
Out of all the things you could be
exactly.
tuning into.
Exactly. That's why you're listening, because there's something here for you. Um, so, that's the first thing that I would say, and that there are tasks and exercises and things that you can do to help you become more conscious of that and to help you on the path that will bring you the most joy in life. That our purpose in life is to bring joy to ourselves and others. That's our first
Mm,
purpose in life. That's why
yeah.
it's so beautiful. That's why when you look out at the sky, you go, "Are you kidding? Whose idea was this?" Sometimes, you have a perfect peach. You take a bite of a perfect peach, which, peaches are only perfect for about 2 weeks out of the entire year. And you take a bite
Uh-huh.
of a perfect peach and go, "Oh my God, whose idea was this? This is fantastic." Um, so, we're able to look at life in lots of different ways, and to take nature in and really be communicating with it. And she's there to communicate with you. It's just a different language. And that
Yeah.
language exchange happens vibrationally more than it happens with language. We're all caught up in language. Language is another really good idea, really good, very, very clever. And we have lots of them. And isn't that clever? Words and
Hmm.
thoughts and concepts and language. We do all that with language, but we're far more communicative than just language. We communicate on vibrational levels. And if you are willing to receive you know, communication from all of nature's, you know, big guns, air,
Mm-hmm.
ocean, water, uh, sun, you know, it's all there. You just have to open your heart to it and know that you're one with it. And, you know, that alone will raise your vibration up to help you
Mm.
recognize who you are and
Yeah.
what you might want to do, because really you can do anything you want to do. You know, in the book, I talk about self education. I was thrown out of every school I ever went to. You know, I used to go in the classroom and look at the teacher and listen to the teacher and go, this person doesn't care. You know, this person
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know their subject. They don't care about imparting information. They don't really even want to be here. So I'm not going to be here. I would just get up and walk out. And then
Wow.
they would, you know, call my parents, and then we would have a meeting. And then they would say, you know, Jocelyn, you have to explain to her she can't just get up and walk out of class. It's not okay. And my father, who was an artist, said, you know, I think it's your job to engage her interest. And, you know, that was just my feeling. You know, the cherry blossoms are blooming in Central Park. It would be criminal for me to give an hour to this person who doesn't care about anything, rather than go and really kind of tip my hat to the
Mm-hmm.
cherry blossoms, which are explosively beautiful. If you have never seen
Mm-hmm.
cherry blossoms in bloom in Central Park around the reservoir, you know, you have to do that sometime in the
Mm.
spring.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And, one of the things that comes to mind with this conversation, of course, you've mentioned, and it comes up for me because my son just starting on this acting path and having the blessing of all those small productions just starting and getting cast and so many things. So he's getting so much experience so quickly, and I think he's quickly seeing like, oh my gosh, this is my zone, and I am in my highest expression and highest excitement when I'm on set. Like he said, that there's nothing more rewarding and exciting than that feeling and being there on set, and I love it so much. And then all of a sudden I'm not on set, and it's like, now what? And I think it's really important for people to understand the ebbs and flows of energy and the peaks and valleys that are inevitable in our lives, and I think
Yes.
it's just a great example comparing it to the actor on and off set. And if you can, and for him, in his case, he's like, okay, there's a first little lull here. What do I do? Okay, I'm gonna get back to my novel that I'm really interested, I've been working on for a few years, or finding some other outlet instead of, I think a lot of people, like maybe even the guy you gave an example, or I'm sure you've come across others, they put everything on, okay, if I'm not acting and on the top of my game, who am I? What am
Yeah.
I? I'm worthless. I'm unhappy. I'm depressed. And it's like, you're going to have ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, and whatever you're doing in your life, and to learn to embrace those valleys and knowing that they're only leading to another peak, and that contrast is a very important element to make the peaks meaningful.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
Yes, also that in the valley, you know, it's time to recognize that you created the last peak. That was your doing. And you will
Yep.
create the next peak, and the next peak will come out of what you are doing in this valley
Hmm.
and how you handle this valley.
And the more
Um,
gracious in the valley, I think the higher the next peak that
yeah,
is possible,
exactly,
personally.
exactly. And the more gratitude for the peak.
Hmm.
Um, as
Yeah.
opposed to, you know, taking sort of expecting things to be a certain way. You know, I've worked
Yeah.
with a lot of big movie stars, and that's true. The more people work, the more actors work, the more they become just tunnel vision. It has to be acting. I'm not happy unless
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
working. Um, and yet, you know, the people have compared the book a lot to The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way is a wonderful book, also has exercises, also leads people to the artistry within them. And one of the cornerstones to the Artist's Way is an artist date. They say once a week, take yourself on an artist date. Go to the museum, go to a stationery store and pick out paper and pens and things for yourself. Um,
Mm,
to fill your life, go to a botanical garden, to fill your life with other things that enrich the broth, so to speak. So,
mm,
if you're making a really good broth, you want onions and garlic and celery and, herbs, and you want to include a
mhm.
lot of things in that broth, because there's so much richness in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and even like, in our depths, we don't want to move. Like, say we're just terribly depressed, we don't want to get out of bed, we don't want to leave the room, we don't want to do anything. If you can gently talk to yourself, you can breathe into your heart and gently talk to yourself and say, let's go outside, we're just going to walk around the block, let's just walk around the block and look at the sky and breathe in the air and be grateful for the beauty of the day. I mean, we live in paradise here on the West Coast. I do this all the time. I'm grateful for the light. The light on the West, coast by the ocean is very different than the light in Hollywood. It
Mhm,
it reminds me of back east, in Cape Cod and Long Island on
mhm.
the beaches. The light is just very, very different. And light is an entity, it's an entity unto itself. And even
Yep.
if you just appreciate, everything loves appreciation, everything loves admiration, everything on
What
the
you
planet.
appreciate appreciates, right?
Yes, yes. So if you're just grateful to the light, grateful to the day, grateful for the weather, grateful for the grass. We have a garden nearby. I like to walk by. It's a butterfly garden. It's just everything they planted for butterflies, and it's always filled with butterflies. And you can just stand there
Mm,
and commune with the butterflies and be grateful for that. And that, raises your vibration, raises the vibration of everything around you.
yeah. Yeah, it's so simple to think about, um, just going and finding things to appreciate as a way, as a means to an end to get more of the things in your life, to call in more of the things that you want but can't quite see the path to getting.
Yeah.
It's such a great example of, set that intention and a lot of people will say expectation is bad. It's the enemy. I personally don't agree with that. I think attachment to the outcomes is the issue. So
Hmm.
having some level of expect, okay, this is what I expect to happen. This is what I'm calling in, and now I'm going to let that go. I don't need it to happen to
Hmm.
be fulfilled. I trust that it will be that or something better that's even more in alignment with me. And a lot of
Yes,
times
yes,
I
yes.
can't see I can't see the way my higher self sees. It's like, I'm playing checkers and my higher self is playing chess. So I can call what I want in and then say, okay, and I trust that maybe I don't fully know. And there's, you hear this idea that it's a lot of times we're being protected from what we think we want when we don't get it. So I think that's a really important piece of this whole puzzle too. It's like starting to set those intentions with a healthy sense of detachment, focusing on the vibration and appreciation and gratitude, and then just enjoying the mystery, trusting the mystery that's unfolding.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree. I think that's very well said. Um, yeah, and intention is everything. There's a funny thing about asking questions too. If you center yourself and you ask questions, they will be answered. It's
Hmm.
almost impossible to hang a question out there without something coming back. So
Yeah.
it's asking questions is really, really healthy. And also accepting the fact that we are exactly where we are in life because of every action, thought, and doing this. You know, Everything that we have thought and done has brought us to this moment. And when we accept that and we want to change, w- that we're in exactly the right place to learn the next lesson. And when
Hmm.
we accept that, all kinds of things open up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I thought of as we've been talking too is um, this, you know, the interesting thing about tapping into your artistry and creativity and this idea that, you know, really at the end of the day, we're all not just creative and have that inner artist, um, but really we're all actors to some degree, right? Because this character, this avatar,
Yeah.
you know, Brandon and Jocelyn, these are avatars that are you know, higher self, I believe our soul has said, okay, this is the character I'm going to create. This is the you know, the clothes that I'm going to put on, the skin, the circumstances, the okay, let's drop into the stage. I don't know if you've ever read the book Journey of Souls or Destiny of Souls. Really great book that basically talks about a lifetime between lives. Supposedly,
Hmm.
the author spent 40 years doing hypnotherapy and started getting people who would drop into supposed past lives, and then they would pass away, and you go, okay, now what? And then they would say, well, okay, this is happening. And he documented over 40 years and started very scientific way of looking at, you know, the data of like, oh my gosh, look at all the overlaps of these people's experiences of what's happening in the bigger narrative that we're all a part of and what happens to us in life between lives. And it's really fascinating. And he talks a lot about, or people would talk a lot, how on the other side we view it as like, okay, I'm going into the, you know, I'm going onto the stage, you know,
Yeah.
I'm time to step into the movie, you know,
Yeah.
and it's very much looked at as that. And I think that's an interesting thing to consider as you look at your life, and that, like you said a moment ago, it's all in perfect divine order. And of all the characters you could be playing in your soul's journey and evolution, this is the absolute perfect place, character, circumstances to lead you to the next greatest and grandest version of yourself.
Yes. I love that, greatest and grandest version of yourself. Yeah, I mean, really, we're dealing with the power of the spirit in body that can you can really do anything, and the personality. And all the thinking is in the realm of the personality. We just love our personalities, you know, we've been
Mm-hmm.
working on them since day one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's what
Right.
I love about adolescence, because you know adolescents are like, I think I'm gonna be like this, I'm thinking, oh, I like her, I'm gonna be like her, no, he's great,
Right.
I'm gonna be like, you know. And we try on all these personalities like party clothes, you know, how does this work, you know, what kind of attention do I get with this?
Right. Right. Right.
And the beauty of stilling yourself and breathing into your heart and feeling the power without the personality. And a lot of people are resistant to that because, you know, the personality is basically terrified that you're going to take over. You're going to show up and take over the show because they know, of course, spirit is much more powerful. They're merely this personality. So, um, you know, there's that battle going on, and it's kind of wonderful to accept both. You know, there's nothing wrong with a personality. We have to have a personality. It's how we individualize. It's how we don't fall. You know, we are all one expression of consciousness, greater
Mm-hmm.
source. And you know, if we didn't have personalities, we just like blend together. We wouldn't know where
Mm-hmm.
I left off and you began.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
fully agree with that. Well, I would love to switch gears here a little bit, and uh, prompt you for a little bit of inspired story time. I love, as listeners know, I love to hear stories of synchronicity or serendipity or positive paranormal stories. Um, Anything, you know, sort of in that lane that jumps out at you that would be inspiring to share?
well, it's such a frequent thing with me.
Yeah,
I
I can
mean, it really
imagine.
is just a daily kind of occurrence, little and large. I would say the thing that always astounds me is uh, I have who I call my finder angel. You know, when I lose things, I can't find something, that we go into this immediate frustration of loss. I can't
Mm,
find the keys. I can't find the thing. I can't
mm.
find it. And of course, the minute you say, I can't find it, you can't find it because we're that quick.
Abracadabra.
So, yeah, exactly. So if you
Create as I speak.
merely slow down and say, where is? So when I
Mm,
shifted to where is,
mm. Love
I
that.
would clear this space and then a picture would come in and then I would go there and there would be the thing. And I think one of the more miraculous times that happened was that we had a dinner party at my mother's house and she had a little heart on a string, which was very unlike her to wear around her neck, but a wonderful artist,
Hmm.
Jasper Johns, had given it to her and she was very taken with it. And I kept telling her, you need to take that off a string and put it on a chain with a catch because it's gonna break. You're gonna lose it. And after the dinner party, it was gone. She noticed it was gone, and she was very distressed. And
Mm,
so I was washing the dishes, and I just decided in my own head, I'm gonna find that heart for
hmm.
her.
Mm,
And I thought I'm going to wash the dishes, and when I'm finished with the dishes, I'm going to create that space of being in present time with the dishes and the soap and the water and the heat and felt so good. I'm going to be in present time with that and create this space. And the minute I put the dish towel down, I'm going to see where that heart is. And so I did all of that and put the dish towel down and saw this tiny, I mean, this was the tiniest little red heart. And in my mind's eye, I saw it on the front steps of the house coming up to the lead up to the house. And it was
mm.
pouring rain outside. And I thought, oh, really? Am I going to put the galoshes and a hat and a flashlight and go out there? And I did, and there it was, right on the step. I kept thinking, it's so
Wow.
tiny, it'll be washed away, it'll be this, it'll be that.
Yeah.
No, there it was.
Wow.
So, and a lot of that is trust. I had to trust that I was right. I had to trust that it was there enough to get weather up to go look for it. Um, Faith and trust is very important. It's one of the most important things for an actor is trust that I've done the work, trust that I'm going to enter it, trust that I am this other person. uh Trust is very important. um
Hmm.
I've been watching since the queen died. I've been watching The Crown and binging on The Crown, which is an incredible series, really well written,
Mm,
really well done. Each episode is a little
hmm.
bit like its own movie, and there's a character in there. This Prince Philip's mother is was a nun in Greece. um a very odd woman who, they say was mentally ill. She wasn't mentally ill, she was just advanced human being. And they brought her to England and she was having a little talk with her son after many, many years. And sorry about the motorcycle that just went by. And
Oh, no problem.
she said, how is your faith? And his face went a little blank. And she said, I'm going to tell you something from a mother to a son, something very important. Find a faith. And I
Mm,
think she's right. What you and I have been talking about in this whole time is our faith in man as a higher being, as
yeah.
a conduit of consciousness, an expression of source.
Hmm.
That's a faith. And when you have a faith, life becomes not only bearable but exquisite.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Inspired. You're trusting the mystery, trusting the process, even if
Yes,
you don't see all of the, how all the dots connect, and you trust that they're connecting, and that brings a great amount of peace to especially those valleys, right? Those more challenging times, and yeah, I definitely feel that fully, and sounds like you do too. And I know that the listeners do after tuning into this very inspired um, Yeah, connection with you today. It's been so amazing. And I know people are going to want to follow your work and check out your book. And so maybe you can just share the best ways to connect and get the book, etc.
The probably the best way is through the website. I mean, the book is available on Amazon, of course. But also my website is jocelynjonesstudio.com, and also a lot about the book and about the upcoming documentary is on Instagram at Jocelyn Jones Studio. We do have a 16-part documentary coming out this fall on a masterclass I taught. I don't think, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anybody go into an acting class with 3 cameras.
It's a documentary on the masterclass.
It's a documentary
So
on the
it's,
master class. So it has very,
oh,
very
wow.
advanced actors doing, we did a lot of,
Wow.
I wanted to do a lot of Odette's and, uh, material from that time because I think we're experiencing that right now. So
Hmm.
it's brilliant actors, very advanced actors doing very advanced work. In my classes, they prepare as if they're arriving on set. So they're expected to, for a 10-minute scene, rehearse at least 20 hours. Sometimes the more they know, the more they
Wow.
put in there because I say, I want you to do everything you know how to do to the scene and then bring it to class so that I can, tell you, not what you didn't take the time to do, but that which you might be able to expand on and things that you
Wow.
didn't see to do. So that's very exciting. We put 3 cameras on it. My husband's a professional director, and so he and this wonderful other student who was the cinematographer have been editing for 3 years.
Wow.
It because 16 hours. Um,
Wow. Wow.
but it's kind of wonderful, and we have interviews, so you get to know the actors. We interview them. We have movement exercise, dance exercises. We have other acting exercises. We have an exercise called a picture exercise where the actor duplicates a photograph, which talk about taking things on, because, in a photograph, it captures the tension of the person in the photograph, where they're holding, their muscles and all kinds of things.
Wow.
And so that's an exciting exercise. And we have a number of those, one for Frank Sinatra, and the guy sings and gets the voice pretty
Cool.
well. So,
Wow.
so that's an exciting thing for people to see how an acting class works.
Very, very cool. Well, I know there will be people that want to check that out. And yeah, congratulations on all your success. And just really appreciate your unique sort of path to helping to raise the vibration on the planet and helping others to tap into their inner artist. It's definitely needed and beautiful. And I do have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And it is my cliche closer. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Jocelyn Jones?
60 seconds or less. I believe the meaning of life is for consciousness source to express itself in these multitude, not just people, but the planet, Mother Earth, space, everything that we can see and touch and feel is an expression of consciousness, and how glorious for us to recognize that and be a part of it and try to
Mm,
contribute the best of ourselves, the best expression of
yes,
ourselves, because in that way we're expressing the best expression of higher consciousness.
indeed. I could not agree more. Jocelyn, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share. And all of you out there for tuning your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts. Until next time, journey well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. I love your mission with your podcast. It's
Mm.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can find the book and unlock their lives with the help of the golden key as well.